Good morning, Sitaram, Namaste. Continue the Panchatantra tales. This is the Prince and the Holy Man. Once there was a king whose eldest son was very fierce and high-tempered. The king, his kinsmen, his counselors, and the citizens all pointed out to the prince the error of his ways, but he paid no attention to any of them. One day, as the king sat near a palace window which overlooked a busy street, he saw a holy man walking along with an alms bowl in his hand. The king remarked to one of his counselors, "The holy man fixes his gaze before him and walks along with lion-like majesty, as though at every footstep he were depositing a purse filled with 1,000 pieces. If goodness dwells anywhere, it must be in that man's chest. Bid a courtier to bring him to me." A courtier hurried up after the holy man, took his alms bowl, and said, "The king sends for your reverence." The holy man was brought before the king, who greeted him with great courtesy and bade him to sit on the ground throne beneath the royal umbrella. As the sage was fed on the food which had been made ready for the king, and they talked, the king learned that upon the death of his parents, the holy man had gone to dwell in the Himalayas, that he might seek wisdom in silence and meditation. He had dwelt there a long time, but at last the need for salt and other necessities of life brought him back to the paths of men. "Where are you going now?" asked the king. "I'm in search of a dwelling place during the rainy season," answered the holy man. "Will you not dwell in a hermitage in the garden of the palace?" asked the king, and he showed him a hermitage which had one cell for the day and one cell for the night. Henceforth the sage dwelled there, and 2 or 3 times each day the king visited him. At last the king told the holy man his grief over his son, whom the people called Prince Wicked. He said, "I beg you to teach my fierce and high-tempered son to mend his ways." And the king brought his son to him and left him in his care. The holy man took the prince for a walk through the garden. The sage paused before a seedling and says, "Taste a leaf of that little tree, prince, and see what it is like." The youth stopped, plucked one of the leaves, and tasted it. He spat it out and coughed and spat again to get the taste out of his mouth. "What is the matter, prince?" "So, sir, today the seedling only suggests poison, but if it is allowed to grow, it will prove the death of many people." The lad knelt, pulled the seedling out of the ground, and tore it to pieces, crying, "If poison lurks in the seedling tree, what will the full growth prove to be?" The sage picked up the torn and bruised seedling and gazed sadly down on it. At last he said, "As you have acted towards this seedling, the people of this kingdom will act towards you, for they fear the kind of king which Prince Wicked may become. They will not place you on the throne, but will uproot you as you have uprooted this seedling, and they will drive you into exile. Therefore take warning and prepare yourself for a life of exile, or learn to replace your fierce and high-tempered ways with those of mercy and kindness." From that day on, the prince began to change. He grew humble, and in time he became a high-souled king, brave and fearless, but merciful and overflowing with love and kindness towards all. Sitaram, Namaste.